So, my girl told me to come over to their house, and I have never been to their house ever since we started dating. She told me that her mother is a single mother, that she is very strict with her and wouldn't want what happened to her to repeat itself. She told me that her mother traveled to see her mother, that she is with one of her friends and she wants me to come over too to keep them company since her mother's not around. So, I dressed up looking so fly and I added my body spray and my perfume and I was smelling nice and clean. So I headed to their house following the address she gave me. I knocked on their door and someone opened the door. A pretty face and thick figure 8. And I told her that I'm looking for Chantel and she told me that I'm in the right place. She called me by my name and told me that Chantel told her that I was coming. And she let me in. She led the way while I followed behind her. Her backside was massive, like ×2 of Chantel's backside. I was wowed in my mind because as she was walking, everything behind her was vibrating like earthquake. And she offered me a seat and I settled down. And she sat right in front of me and her thighs were creamy and fresh, like fresh bread from the oven. She was putting on a green short gown and her weapons of mass destruction was flashing in my eyes like the paparazzi's camera. And she told me that her friend has gone to the market to get some food items. And she asked me what I cared to take, and I told her soft drink, and she went to the kitchen and came back with a glass of juice. As she bent over to offer me the juice, I could see half of her 2 over-ripped pawpaws, and it was almost popping out of her chest. It was so enticing that I wanted to grab it and suck the fresh juice off the 2 tantalizing pawpaws in front of me. But instead, she offered me the orange juice in the glass cup, and I collected it and thanked her. And she went back to her seat. She started misbehaving like a small witch. At every passing seconds, she would open her legs and I could see her snail looking slimy and enticing. She wasn't putting on anything inside, and I could sense that she was prepared for me. Maybe she wanted to collect one round and clean mouth before Chantel, her friend, comes back. And I was ready for her, if that's what she wants from me, and am prepared to give it to her hot. She has already got my rod hard and ready to strike. "Don't act as if you have not been reading the signs," she said to me, smiling. "What did you want?" I asked. "Some strokes of cane from you, and I will be good," she replied, and she stood up from her seat and walked up to me and knelt in between my legs as she reached for my rod, which was already hard as Zuma rock. "Stop already, we can't betray Chantel," I said to her. "She wouldn't know except you tell her yourself." "Don't you like what you see?" she asked, and I was carried away by her beautiful looks. And she held my hard long rod in her palm. Sorry for interrupting the interesting story. If you know you're enjoying this story, do well by smashing the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for more nasty stories like this. Don't forget to like and share. Let's continue. "What is this?" she asked. "How do you mean, what is this?" I replied. "Is this a yam or what?" she asked, and I wasn't feeling comfortable again because that's what all the women I have slept with usually says to me. "It's not yam, it's my hammer. I can use it to panel beat your waist, and you will be good to go," I said to her, and she smiled. "Let me see," she said as she adjusted my belt and slid down. Both my jeans trousers and my boxers and my monstrous hammer charged in the air. "What is this?" she screamed as she jumped up on her feet and took few steps backwards as she watched my giant hammer and you. She murmured something that I didn't get so well, and I asked her what she said, and she told me that it's nothing. But I think I heard her say, "Thank you, Chantel, for this one." Next thing, she rushed me and started licking the pink cap of my hammer, and I was feeling like a little kid that is licking a vanilla-flavored ice cream. The feelings was so wow. As she was licking the pick cap of my hammer, she was also playing with the 2 eggs in my sack bag, and I subtracted her gown, and the 2 over-ripped pawpaw on her chest bounced in the air. And I could hear the 2 pawpaws calling me by my name and telling me to come and have some pawpaw juice. And I said in my mind, I have been dying to have this, and I rushed the pawpaws. My first attack was with formation. I started with the small nuts at the tip heads of the over-ripped pawpaws, and I sucked the juice from the small nuts at head of those pawpaws. And she kept on saying, "Don't stop, don't stop." And before I could know what was going on, she sat on my Monday hammer, and it went through her slippery snail and hit her so deep down into here womb, and she moaned with satisfaction, and the fighting begun immediately. And we had to do it very fast because we don't know when Chantel will be coming back from the market, and I have to show her that I've got some skills. I have to make her to understand that man, past man. And I bent her over, like she is picking pin on the floor, and I began to pump her tire with ferocity and without mercy. I have got to teach her the lesson of her life for looking for my trouble. How on earth can she trouble me and expect not to run? For I know that my knacking machine and my God's given strength will never disappoint me. So I keep on increasing my fire at every intervals until she started singing sweet song in a very high pitch. And I know that she did not care if the neighbors could hear her sing because she was high in spirit of worldly pleasures, and I don't care either, because I am in the middle of the war, and if I loose guard, I might collect bullet on the process, so. I proceeded, and I could hear her singing the sweet melody on top of her voices, and she was practically losing her sanity because of how she was misbehaving at the peak of the pleasure that I was giving to her. And I turned her to the other side and kept on firing until she pushed me away and ran to the kitchen, and I followed her and held her on her waist, and she grabbed the kitchen cabinet with her both hands. And I put in my hammer again, and I kept on ridding her slippery ass till she began to beg me to stop. And I told her only on one condition, and she told me that she can do anything for me to stop. And I told her that she will suck my cucumber till I come. And she said yes, and I unplugged my pipe from her snail, and she thanked me. But she didn't keep to our bargain. She just rushed out of the kitchen to her room and jammed the door against me. I took a look at my rod. It was long and hard as Zuma rock, like it was just starting, and I slid it back into its base and arranged my boxers and my trousers, and went back to the parlor and turned on the television and searched for my best television channel and put in and enjoyed the show with my glass of orange juice. I heard a knock on the door, unsure whether to answer or call Chantel's friend. When I opened it, Chantel hugged me and came in with 2 bags of food. She noticed a gown on the floor and asked, "What's Annabelle's gown doing here?" I lied, not knowing her name, and said Annabelle was inside. Chantel went in, and I expected to hear some quarrels or argument, but instead, they were laughing and chatting. Later on, Chantel came to me with Annabelle following her. Shockingly, Chantel sat on my lap, touching my beard, and we shared apples. She then went to the kitchen to prepare food, and Annabelle followed her. I finished my apple, feeling uneasy and thirsty. After some time, and I decided to go to the kitchen to get some water. And as I was about entering the kitchen, I overheard them discussing about me, and Annabelle was telling her that I am a real man, that I was more than what she said that I am. She told her that she has to run away from me as I wanted to choke her with my hammer, and they laughed. Chantel told her that the 2 of them are going to sleep with me after eating, and let them see how I'm going to defeat the 2 of them. As I heard that, my heart was full of joy, and I wasn't feeling tasty any longer, and I tiptoed back to the parlor seat before they will see. So they planned all these, I said to myself, and I came to conclusions that Chantel has been telling her friends about my big and mighty hammer and my horsepower abilities. And I was patiently waiting for the food to dawn so that I will have the best moment of my life sleeping with 2 friends at once. Want the full story? Drop a part 2 in the comments right now. Then make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a post. Hit the like button and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Your support makes all the difference. See you in the next one.